What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast for another week of the Star Wars Exchange. It's good to be here as always, but Mike, how have you been going this week?
Man, we had a good discussion last week. I'm excited once again to have another great discussion.
For sure. And this week, we're sort of riding off the hype of last week. We weren't really sure about the episode, but it went really well. Everyone seemed to really enjoy it. So we thought, let's go again. But with Clone Wars, we even mentioned last week, like, we should do this with Clone Wars. So
hmm
Yeah, I like firstly just thank you to everyone who engaged with that episode and was commenting their top five. Do the same this week. Would love to hear from you. But yeah, talking about Clone Wars this week, which is exciting. Mike and I both obviously love Clone Wars, same as Rebels. We probably talk about Rebels a little bit more, but obviously we both love Clone Wars. For me, I'm probably a Rebels man over a Clone Wars man, but please,
Boo, boo.
no, I still love my Clone Wars. But yeah, excited to get into it this week, Mike. Are you excited to get into this? Tell us about your Clone Wars experiences, though.
So it's been a struggle for me choosing which series. I've accepted that I appreciate both for very different reasons, and I both have them on the same level. Because if
Yeah,
I'm feeling good or I want to feel good, I watch Rebels because that's a good feel show. That's like my comfort show. I could go
yeah,
to that episode to that show anytime, select any episode, and come out feeling good. Obviously, you got to refrain from going into Jedi Knight or Twilight of the Apprentice, but it has a lot of good episodes where it's like, man, I just want to hang with the fam, and hang out with Kane and Hera, Ezra, Chopper, Sabine, Zeb. So yeah, I love my Rebels for different reasons, and Clone Wars I love for different reasons. And if it's a Friday night, and I'm like, man, I want some good Star Wars like action and good story as well. Not that Rebels doesn't have a story, but Clone Wars it feels like a movie theater experience sometimes where you're just like, I gotta blast the volume for this. Like I cannot watch on my laptop. I gotta sit down, watch on our like one of our TVs on our flat screen TVs in the house. Yeah, that's the one. That's the series that I always go to and turn it up. So Clone Wars, for me, uh, we talked about Lego Star Wars not too long ago about the complete saga and how it got us to being Star Wars fans. Clone Wars for me uh, was another extension, another vessel to like capture my love for Star Wars and just like made me care about the overall story. So
mm,
it was Lego Star Wars and then Clone Wars, and Clone Wars was like, where does this fit in the Lego Star Wars game? I was trying to figure
yeah,
out. And I was like, where's Luke, Leia, However, with and it was with the Clone Wars movie, and yeah, I've talked some experiences about it, but yeah, I love the Clone Wars. I just grew up with it. Really started watching it when what season one was coming out while I was in the fourth grade. Watched like the very last leg of it, and then started watching ever since. I remember like missing a chunk of season two, but then getting like almost like started watching it consistently in the middle, and I was like, all right, like I'm in now. I'm a the Clone Wars fan. So ever since then, I watched like pretty much all the debuts on Friday nights. Remember those, everyone? Friday nights at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Those were the nights. Everyone knew in my household, do not disturb me or my brother. It's Clone Wars night. We're gonna, put it on in the living room and watch it. And it was very. I had a difficult time and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about arcs and stuff. But I had a difficult time when the series shifted to more of the arc storytelling. So when it got to the Citadel arc and it would leave like open ended or like just on a little hook to leave you for the next episode to get you in, I was like, I don't know if I like these. Like, I just like the singular episodes. So I had a tough time getting into the arcs, but overall, it just ended up being the arcs ended up being the standout for the series. So that's what we're pretty much kind of ranking today. But we also have our little episodes here and there. But Ari, I've talked to you about my Clone Wars experience and how much the show has meant to me, and literally how when the Clone Wars season 5 came out, I was in 8th grade when the show was canceled, and then I went into high school with Rebels. Really, so I just felt like both I've carried both shows in very important parts of my life. Did do you have a similar experience with Clone Wars? Did you even watch Clone Wars growing up? What's your story?
Yeah. Yeah, Clone Wars was like it sort of went for me at a really young age, like so young that I can't even remember. I would have started watching the movies, and then Clone Wars was that thing that my older brother would always be like, shout out Jasper, would always be like, yeah, let's like watch this with me. And like I was really, really young. And I was always just like, damn, that was cool, like, great. And then it was sort of like Rebel season one came out, and then I fell in love with that. I spoke about this briefly last week, but I fell in love with season one of Rebels. And then I was like, I think I got sick and had to miss like a week of school. And then in that week, I was like, you know what? Clone Wars was on Netflix. I'm like, I'm just gonna watch this from start to finish, and maybe would have been 12 or so at the time. And man, from there, just fell in love with the show, like just loved everything about it. And also it was really nice to come to a show where like I was already really familiar with like Rex and Ahsoka and all that. Like I remember me and my brother did used to watch the Clone Wars movie a lot back in the day, and I used to love it. I was too young to understand some of the flaws, and I just loved it. I just thought, who cares? This is just 90 odd minutes of good old Star Wars fun. So um, yeah, no, that's sort of my experience. But today, same as last week, where we'll be going top five, diving into all our favorites. I have a solid feeling as well this week. It might be a bit different in terms of me and Mike will probably have much more similar lists. I'm predicting, maybe I'll be wrong. Whereas last week we only had like one episode that like was on each of our lists. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But obviously, don't get angry at us once again. These are just our opinions. We'd love to hear yours, though. Or yeah, as we said last week, get angry at us. Go and yell at us in the comments about how wrong we are. We'd love
with
to hear.
Tell us how wrong we are with your own list.
Yeah, yeah,
Do that instead. No, but like seriously, if you think this is the type of ranking that you're gonna sit here and we're gonna tell you what you want to hear, Nomad Droids and Mercy Mission being the number one arc, you're wrong. We're here
yeah,
to talk about what resonated with us, and Ari thinks we have similar lists. I don't know his list, like as he
yeah.
said. I'm very curious. We talk more about Rebels, where it's like I could kind of have more of a feel, but here I just feel like we might. Yeah, I don't know. Like I just feel like we have similar tastes in Star Wars, so I have some suspicions, but
Mm,
we'll see how it all goes with my
we'll
number
see how
five.
this pans out.
Should I give my number five?
Yeah, I was just gonna say before we do
Yep.
jump into it, we sort of like ranking here in terms of like I explained to Mike before we started. This is sort of just like our favorite storytelling points of the series. So whether that's one episode or 10 episodes or 5 episodes, we're just ranking that. So we could be saying an arc or just a singular episode. So yeah, I'm sure you guys will catch on. I mean, most of mine and Mike's will probably be arcs, but there might just be some where we're just like it's just this episode. Um, but yeah, let's get cracking into it, Mike. You're number five. Let's go.
Dang. My number five. Again, yeah. Before I reveal my number five, I just want to harp on what Ari was saying. The Clone Wars is such a massive series where it's like whatever resonated with you. We always talk about how Clone Wars tackled genres very well. You got the westerns,
Yeah.
you got the thrillers, you got the some
Oh
of the
yeah.
romantic ones. Dark
Yeah.
Disciple. You got other ones. Like I said, thriller. You just got it all mystery. So whatever resonated with you. It just had that big casting net, and it pulled all the fans in. So with that being said, number five. Now, this could change tomorrow. It could change in an hour after we record this. But I've been on a Ventress train lately. No pun intended. And it will make sense when I reveal the title of the episode, and that is Bounty. And that is
Mike, I'm gonna have to say it right here. My number five is the exact same.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes. Man, all right.
Wow.
Let's talk about Bounty though.
Yeah, let's talk
You
about
go
Bounty
for it.
now.
You go for it. Yeah,
Well, that's crazy. How did that
yeah.
happen?
I don't know,
Well,
but I knew that would be in your top five because you post about it all the time, and plus we've both been reading Dark Disciple, so I'm
yeah.
like,
Yes.
man, I know Mike's gonna put this in, but yeah, tell us why you love
All
Bounty.
right. All right. Bounty. All right. So, as Ari said, we both been reading Dark Disciple. And this is one of the episodes that, as I've grown older, I've just learned to appreciate more, just because it
Mm,
has a lot of lessons in there where it's not everything is black and white. It's a lot more of, you're allowed to grieve, you're allowed to act out in several ways after experiencing something that Ventress did. I talk about the opening shot a lot, where she's just walking in on the sands of Tatooine, and she's walking up to the Mos Eisley Cantina, and you could just feel her entire heavy dark soul walking through that under those two bright suns. It's either the music, her face, her walk. She's just still reeling in what happened after getting her whole sister clan killed. I mean, talk about carrying some baggage with you. So, and we have to give credit to Massacre, because it set up this wonderful episode for us. But yeah, this
definitely.
is one of the episodes that I put on very often, even if I'm not reading Dark Disciple. You got some awesome. Yo, you know what? One detail I love about this episode, Dengar. You know how he
Mm,
rushes through and he throws all the grenades
yeah.
on them. They took that scene, or that little clip that he did, and they like made it part of his like character's abilities in the battle 2015 Battlefront game,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all designs to Poodoo and all that stuff. I was like, bro, Clone Wars matters. So, anyways, yeah, this is an episode of for Asajj Ventress. This is a, as Ari said, this is one that I post about. Just yeah, I love the aspect I love about it. Obviously, is the Asajj Ventress part, and her coming to terms with uh like I was saying, all her grief and such. And you definitely just get the sense that Asajj, she's put in this position where, oops, I killed your a member of your team that was supposed to do this job. Sorry, now I got to fulfill it, or I'm gonna get in trouble with the law. So she goes on. So she fulfills her thing. She goes on the job, does her cool acrobats and fights and stuff like that. And she almost falls in the rhythm of like, oh shoot, like I think she's gonna do this more often. She might like be part of the gang. She's very casual about it and stuff. But then after she saves that one girl, she has like a moment of clarity, and she's like, "Damn, I don't think I want to do this for the rest of my life." And she, even when she separates the credits and meets the rest of the crew, wherever on that station, the hub station in space, cool concept by the way. But they're like, "Oh, you're not gonna stick around. That's it." And she's like, Are you too good for us now? You don't want to be part of the team?" And she's like, "I'm a part of any team." And then they're like, "You're too good." Nah, it's just I have a future now. I'm not doing these jobs anymore. I have a path, a different road than you guys. And I'm just, like I said, as I gotten older, that's one of the aspects of the episode that I've come to realize, like, wow, that is so, looking back on my own journey, looking at what Asajj Ventress has gone through. And again, she was put in this position where it's like, yeah, I'm comfortable here. Like, I could be doing this every week. And then she just has this moment of clarity, and it's like, nah, I'm gonna go a different route. So yeah, I love this episode for a whole bunch of reasons. I find myself often rewatching it. Either you get that cool train heist type feel, or you just get a overall cool action sequences with the bounty hunters. But you also get this cool, like, you see what we're talking about Rebels last week about the emotional appeal. This is one of those Clone Wars episodes that I'm like, give me more of this. So yeah, that's much beyond this. Ari, how do you feel? How do you feel about this episode, since it's your
Man.
number five as well?
No, I loved what you said about that. It'll be hard to top that
I was
that
just
from you. But
rambling.
no, no, no. Like, yeah, I feel very in a very similar way about it. I think something that you said that struck a chord with me was about that the black and whiteness, and how Ventress is like such a gray area as a character, and that's probably why she's so appealing. Is she's clearly not light, but she's clearly not dark. It's not that black or white type thing. She's really in a gray area, and that's like the real juice of the episode. And then it just has the best icing with this awesome train sequence. We get to see the crates claw all these bounty hunters, Dengar, Boba. It's just it's fantastic stuff. Like, you take the Venture stuff out of it, and it's still a really cool episode. It's not a banger episode, but it's still a really cool episode. Put the Venture stuff in, and this episode is awesome. So, um,
Yes.
Man, like everything you said, like Ventress is a great like representation of what it can feel like to be a bit of a loner as well. Like she really is alone, and she has walls up. She's not letting anyone in. Which at some point in everyone's life, people feel like that all the time. That I don't want to let anyone in. So really, it's like almost a relatable thing. But no, you sort of summed it up so well. But like, yeah, like just everything they do with Ventress. This is her. I mean, they didn't do if they had have animated Dark Disciple, that probably would have been her highlight
Yeah.
of the series. But this, to me, is Ventress's highlight of the series. Yeah, and that final scene where I have a future, like just goosebumps thinking about it.
And you brought up a good point where she has all these walls up, right? And the moment that she slips up and lets someone in is with this kidnapped girl.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know her name, but when she's like, I wish do you know what this feels like to be ripped away from your home and taken to a new place? Say, you don't know what that feels like. And for you and me, we're like, oh, Ventress is, yeah, she has her walls up. She's just gonna move right along. That it's not gonna get to her. But that whatever that girl said really got to her, obviously, because she could relate. And she's
yeah,
like, I wish I didn't, but I do. And then she
yeah,
realizes,
man.
it's like, bro, yes, exactly how you said. She has her walls up, and that one that girl was able to slip in and be like, well, I'm gonna tear the house down. And yeah, that's the moment for me that was like, oh wow, Ventress is really going on a new path here. So yeah, uh, as you said, this is a banger episode. Um, I have another which we'll get to in the in our honorable mentions, but there's another one that I'm just like, oh, I love this one as well. But this one really hits home for me. So that's my number
Yeah.
five. That's our number five.
Yeah, I will say, man, the top four was I felt relatively simple, but 5 and 6 was
Yeah.
such a close race for me. I'm excited to see, but I'll get to it in the honorable mentions. But man, number 6 is really, really stiff not to get mentioned here. Anyway, though, let's get to number 4. Mike, what's your number 4? And it better not be the same as mine.
I swear. Okay, number four. Again, y'all. I even texted Ari throughout the week, just joking, because I knew how the Rebels episode went down. Obviously, I partook in it. I said some things, but I texted him. I'm like, should I tell you what my list is? And he's like, no, in text in all
Yeah,
caps. He was like, no.
yeah.
So,
I gotta post that to the Instagram actually.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You should. That would be funny.
Yeah,
Follow our Instagram at the SW Exchange on
yeah.
Instagram. All right.
Mike, number 4. Tell us.
Number four. All right. So this is the Order 66 arc.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the Order 66 arc. Listen, it's Friday, March 7th, 2014. We're watching the Clone Wars for the first time in a while, and the last time for a while. And you're met with explosive killer opening sequence, and then you're
Just real
enthralled right
quick,
into
you're
action.
talking about the Fives arc, yes?
The Fives arc, yes, yes.
Not literally Order 66 in
Oh,
Siege of
oh yeah,
Mandalore.
yeah, yeah.
Fives arc.
No, no,
Yeah,
no. This is
just to
the what
just to
do they
clear it
call
up.
this one now? Actually, because they would call this one the Order 66 arc.
I mean,
Would
I
they
just say
call it?
Fives arc, but yeah,
Yeah, Fives arc or I remember.
yeah,
You're right. Let me clarify, everyone. This is from season 6, the opening arc. But
yeah.
yeah, you're enthralled right in the action. I remember again. This is Clone Wars was ripped away from us, but then they brought back this last batch. No pun intended. They brought in this last batch, and they're like, hey, you can binge it on Netflix right now. That's exactly what I did. And let me just tell you, I got to shout out Disney Plus for doing that week to week release. I don't care if it feels sometimes empty, but I just rather have it feeling like that than binging all of Clone Wars season 6 and at the end just being like, what did I just watch? Because
Yeah.
I was emotional mess at the end, and I was like, what did I watch? So this is an arc that I revisited often because there's episodes like Fugitive that I forgot existed, just because it just when you like pick out the big chunks of it, you just forget about like the little small moments. So Fugitive, shout out Fugitive, because you get an awesome AZ3, AZ5, AZ3, yeah, and fives moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this arc is started asking the like tough questions for Star Wars fans, and like or answering all the tough questions, and it was like a pinnacle moment for the Clone Wars series. I mean, like I said, answering all those tough questions. You got what was Dooku's, how did Dooku fit into the equation of Order 66? What what is even Order 66? They really delved into that, and like how the heck do they go from having these like wholesome clones turning against their fellow Jedi in a matter of 2 seconds? How does that happen? So I love that this episode or this arc really set down and answer that. But they didn't just give you an answer. They had to, you know, draw you in with some cool stuff and then totally take you for a spin and then leave you your mouth just dropped on the floor from the dramatic irony at the end. That's like, dang, we know what's happening, but the obviously the characters in the show don't know what's happening. So it's just a very tragic episode, and even though I don't like revisiting like dark episodes like this, I just there's something about this arc that it's just like again, AZ, shout out to AZ3, or is that his name? I don't know. I'm blanking right now, but AZ and Fives, shout out them because they're like the heart of this really dark arc. And like I said, don't like those dark arcs because they just I want to when I watch Star Wars, I want to like leave feeling good. I don't leave feeling good after this. However, there's just a lot of stuff and it just feels like a culmination of what the show was leading up to, and it was nice to get back on Camino and also seeing like the politics of someone like Shakti Jedi, and then the Kaminoans. Yeah, and then the Kaminoans were like obviously super involved in Order 66, and that you just feel grimy at the end because I felt like Clone Wars really did Kaminoans pretty nicely. You get some cool moments with them in season 3 and them talking to Shakti very nonchalant, and then here they're just like on edge and they're like scheming and you just want to punch Nalise in the face so many times. So yeah, this overall arc is just as Ari would say, chef's kiss. It's really cinematic, and all of season 6 is very cinematic, but this is like holy cow, Ringo Vinda. Shout out even the moment, that opening shot of Orders, the final episode in the arc, and it just feels like you're in Revenge of the Sith when they're landing at the medical bay. So everything's starting to like churn towards like the Revenge of the Sith era here in this episode, here in this arc. So I had a there's I couldn't even, this arc is so good that there's not an episode in here that I could pick on and be like, oh, that's my favorite one, because I think each equally are so good and impactful. Definitely. So there's my number 4. Ari, do you got a number 4 for us? Is it very different from mine?
Yeah, well, I would have given my take on that, but it'll definitely come up again for me soon. But number 4 is, I think I'm just going to call this the Ahsoka's exit arc, I guess.
Ahsoka leaves.
Yeah, Ahsoka leaves. Episode 17 to 20, season 5. Probably the highlight episode would be To Catch a Jedi, episode 19. The Wrong Jedi, though, episode 20 is also outstanding. But man, this arc is fantastic. This was the one that I gravitated to the most after I finished rewatching the Clone Wars. I was like, man, I need to watch those episodes again. Like, they were just that good. But this arc does a really good job of it's like a detect. I love stories. I don't love, but no, I do. I love stories that are like this whole like setting someone up for something they haven't done, and then watching how this plays out. Like, because obviously everyone knows so clearly Ahsoka was not responsible for this, but I just love seeing it all play out, and sort of just the idiocy, I guess, of others watching that and just being so frustrated, but also just like loving the storytelling. As I said, To Catch a Jedi, we were just talking about Ventress. Yeah, she is awesome once again in this episode, and her and Ahsoka teaming up is fantastic. Even I think it's in The Wrong Jedi, the scene with Anakin and Ventress. Really enjoyed that. And then it all cultivates in, man, I'm almost spoiling my list if we ever do a top 5 Clone Wars moments, but probably the best moment in the whole Clone Wars series when Ahsoka is walking out of the Jedi Temple, Anakin runs after her, and man, that just something else. That'll really, like, Clone Wars is, we were talking about earlier, it's very like, just some awesome Star Wars action, but do not forget, at times there are some seriously emotional moments. Mike, that there was one certainly in the arc Mike was just talking about. But yeah, this is just some great stuff. And Mike, you even said earlier about how when you watch Clone Wars, it's like you're just sitting down and watching a movie. Some of the shots in that final scene was like this is just cinematic. Like this is sensational. But man, I think from start to finish, it's just a fantastic arc. And the best arc's the one where it's like, some of them you look at and like, oh, I probably could have used without that episode. But this is just 4 solid episodes. They all stand up. You can watch this arc as a movie. And ultimately, I just love Ahsoka's decision at the end. She's just said, well, you know what? You guys don't trust me clearly. So, see you later. Like, I really respect that decision from her. I think that was the right decision to make. She could see so clearly how like corrupt, the Jedi were internally, that they would turn on her without a second thought almost. The stuff with Barriss as well was really, really well done. Because it's like she's so clearly wrong, so clearly the villain, but it's like you just can't help but think, is she entirely wrong though? Like, obviously she went about it in the worst possible way, but she has a point, and you can't help but look past that. You can't help but not look past that. Like, it's so clearly there. And her speech to the court, I guess, was also really cool. But yeah, and then I think the biggest like gut punch for me was when Anakin is saying like trust me, I know how this feels, and she's just like, yeah, I know you do, and then walks off away from the temple. So
I just got chills.
yeah, just like really powerful stuff. So yeah, I think, yeah, as I say, Clone Wars is probably at its best when it makes you feel that sort of emotion, because surrounding it is like this this icing of like lightsabers, action, but then underneath there's like some really just deep, meaningful stuff going on, and this arc perfectly encapsulates that. So that's why it's my number 4. But yeah, Mike, do you have a take on that, or you want to save it, or are we going to your number 3?
We're going right to my number 2. No, just kidding.
Nah.
I will say, this is when I was talking about in my last at my last ranking for number 4. This arc, spoiler alert, did not make my list just because I don't like this story. It's so sad. Like, it affected me when it came out, just because you get the first episode with sabotage, and you get a awesome Anakin Ahsoka moment, going through their starfighters and getting hit by Buster. It's like, oh cool, it's gonna be one of those like really cool,
starts
like,
with a bang as well.
and it's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get like a cool like action sequence with them, and we're gonna get like a cool like action episode. It looked like they were on not Scipio, Nemodia, Cato Nemodia, I think it was. That's where it opened up. Maybe I forget where on what planet it was. But I was like, oh shoot, we're gonna get some cool things going on, and I'm excited. And I remember then them getting the call from Yoda and being like, return back to the temple, you must. And it was like, oh, I remember being disappointed just because I was like, oh, I finally wanted like a cool, because all of season 5 was just, it was really actiony. But as a kid, it's like, oh, like give me more of that stuff. Like, this show has aged so well for me, just because I go back and pick up on new themes, as I was talking about. But when you're a kid, you're like, give me all that shooting, blasters, lightsabers, give me all that. So, but by the end of this is when I came around on all that stuff. I grew up literally within this arc. By the time we reached the end of the arc, with the episode The Wrong Jedi, I was a wreck for a couple of weeks. I remember, like, I think I watched the finale with my brother. It was like they moved the airing times to Saturday morning, so obviously we were up, we were watching it. And when the final moments happened, when I was like, oh yeah, Ahsoka, like, go back with them, yay, where everything's okay now, because she got lost before and she came back. Awesome moment with her and Anakin. It's like, oh, we're having another one of those moments again. No, when she, like, dude, when I remember when she like closed Anakin's hand or whatever, my heart just dropped, and being like, what?
I think everyone's jaws, hearts, everything just to the floor.
My heart just dropped, and I was like, what is happening? and the next moments where I don't think I recall even seeing them because my eyes were so watery. And those
Yeah, yeah.
last moments of like the violin like slowly like breaking, and then it fades
Chills.
into
Yeah,
the credits, and then it just like the way the credits roll too with the music, and it's just like slow, like it
yeah.
just
So beautiful. So
it felt
beautiful.
like those like beats were just hitting you right in your chest and being like, wow, I could feel the pain here. So yeah, that this is one of the arcs that like I've probably least watched, just because every time I watch it I'm like emotionally affected. So
This is
yeah, I'm
actually
even getting
probably the
emotional to talk
arc
about it.
I've watched
Yeah,
the most.
really.
Just I don't know how that's worked out, but I think I've probably watched this arc more than any other.
Why do you like
Um,
being sad?
I like when Star Wars just brings out like your emotions like that. But yeah, no, what an awesome arc! What an
Yeah.
awesome arc!
Yeah. So
Um,
sorry I did not put this in my top five. But
oh,
I agree though,
that's
as
criminal.
Ari, you were saying, like you sit down, as we were talking about, sit down, it feels like you watch a movie. As you said, I could sit down, watch a movie, and it's like top tier Star Wars
Yeah,
in general. So yeah.
definitely. Mike, hit us with your number 3.
Number three. Ooh, this for a while was my favorite arc. Yeah, this was my favorite arc for a very long time. So I call this the Maudalorian arc, and this is in
Mm,
season 5 with it starts off with episode 1 revival. Then it jumps in the
Mike,
middle of
buddy,
this.
gonna have to interject again. It's happened again.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, Darth Maul arc number 3.
All
Tell
right.
us why. Tell us why.
All right, all right, all right. I can't believe this happened again. Well, actually, why don't you throw us in first one?
Right.
I want to let you could go
Okay.
first.
I would say that I know this arc stretches out like a lot, like maybe season 3 with when Savage first enters. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
Um, but this for me really picked up in season 4, episode 22, I think, called Revenge.
Yes.
Um, and that's where I think Savage finds Maul in the previous episode, and then in this episode he just goes all out, and it's like I think the end of that season just really felt like this is a dark time for the Jedi. Like this is really bleak. I think there was a scene where like, or maybe this was in the next episode, but like Coruscant, like all the like the clouds were just taking over. Everything was so dark. Palpatine sitting there doing these ones. You're gonna have to go watch the video if you want to see what I was doing. But yeah, no. So and then season 5 starts off with a bang. I'll never forget that moment in the season 5 premiere where Maul says, "You will pay for your insolence," and Hondo goes, "Insolence? We are pirates. We don't even know what that means." I would watch that on repeat. I loved it so much. And so that was just the beginning of it for me. Like, wow, okay, this is just sensational stuff. And then into the season 5, those 4 episodes, we have Pre Vizsla versus Mole. What an absolute highlight of the series that fight was. Like that was just such that, like, probably outside of what happened in Siege of Mandalore with that fight, this was probably the best fight in the whole thing. We had jetpacks, flamethrowers, lightsabers, everything was just going on. And then the ending was so dark, like, but you almost just couldn't help but just love that the creators felt that they could do that in a show that generally has been targeted towards children. I was like, wow, okay. Um, and then what is the name of the final episode? It's called The
The
Lawless. That's it.
Lawless.
That is the highlight of it. I mean, holy cow, as Mike would say. Um, yeah, Maul and Savage taking on the Emperor. Oh my god, Bo
Yeah.
Katan and Obi-Wan. And then I still haven't even talked about Obi-Wan and the absolute heartbreak that happens with Satine. Like, man, that's another moment that you just can't help but feel. And Obi-Wan, it's like, it hurts so much because with Anakin, you feel like you almost get that instant response because he shows his emotions, but Obi-Wan is so contained that it's like he still doesn't have that outburst, which makes you even more sad. It's like, oh no, it's like boiling up inside of him. Like it's just awful. But yeah, previously, awesome character. Maul comes to shine. Obi-Wan's fantastic. Like just so many highlights. This is one of those classic Clone Wars arcs. It's just like wow, like what a highlight of the series. This is just action. This is just awesome Star Wars fun. And this was an arc that my brother was like, Darth Maul like lives in the Clone Wars. I was like, what? and then and then he was like, all right, all right. So then I think we just watched like all 6 of those episodes, or maybe 7, starting at season 4, episode 21. We watched all 7 of them, and I was just like, yeah, blown away. Like, this is just incredible. But so, yeah, just so many like highlight moments of the series just contained within this arc. And
Yeah,
I think the creative choice to bring a character back from the dead, I don't like that at all. But wow, boy oh boy, did they make it work. Like,
right.
you just wouldn't go back and think, oh, I think it's silly. You just be like, who cares? Because the storytelling was just fantastic. But yeah, Mike, tell me your take on this arc.
Yeah, you covered all the highlights of this arc and said it beautifully. I wait, question. Was it Jasper who showed so it was Jasper who showed
Yeah,
you this stuff? All right, shout out
yeah.
Jasper once again. Um no, really, listen, this is the culmination of, as you were talking about earlier, about the Savage story, but yet this
Yeah.
arc is so good that it's like also setting things up for the future. Before we could have the
Mm,
siege, we had to have the
yeah,
rise, right? We had to have
exactly.
the rise of the ranks, that Maul was creating. And you're left with that final moment with what's his name, Maul, just being ex force lightning, the electrocuted. There we go. That's, I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say executed.
Yeah, sorry. Can I just interject to shout out our good friend Parks? I'm pretty sure he'll be listening, but he pointed out something in this arc that I just completely forgot to mention that is just like so good to me. While Palpatine and Maul are fighting, there's a really nice shot of like all of Mandalore's history behind them, and it shows all about the war and stuff. And and then Parks was saying in his awesome breakdown videos of the Clone Wars, which by the way, if you haven't watched those, what are you doing? Go watch those.
Literally.
Um, and he was talking about how this was like such a beautiful symbolic representation of those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Because in the background we have all the images of the war going on, and then right there is Maul and Sidious fighting each other, like repeating that history. And then obviously we do see later in the series it like pretty much a war breaks out because those who do not learn from it are doomed to repeat it. So shout out Parks and shout out to that moment. But
No, that's really good. I don't know how I'm gonna top that now, but no, but as as I was saying, like this arc is so good that, like, calm finished, ties up loose ends on some things, but also uh sets up some really nice things that we would have gotten with, Son of Dathomir, which got turned into a comic. But what was Maul being saved for? Because we went, I
yeah,
remember when this series ended, being like, wait, so plot hole. Where's what is Sidious doing with Maul? Like, where's that
yeah.
story going? And then they announced it. This is where I actually cried. I remember where I was when I got this news, and I was crying because I'm like, it just set in that Clone Wars was actually over when they said that some Dathomir was going to be a comic book, and it was like, I guess I'm gonna have to start reading comics.
Yeah.
That was like the first proper like comic book that I
Yeah.
or series
Yeah.
that I read.
It was one of my first as well.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I started like, well, first I gotta with that I got into a comic book shop and was like, okay, I gotta start buying comics, Star Wars comics, and start reading. But
Mm,
yeah, Dark. If you haven't read Son of Dathomir, do so. If you haven't read Dark Disciple, do so.
yeah.
All adaptations of unproduced episodes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you as you said though, this arc is beautiful. It was my personal favorite for a while, but yeah, there's a lot of beautiful moments in here, lots of emotion, lots of cool, like if you just want to put on like a movie, you put on Revival and Menace, the Shades of Reason and the Lawless, and it's a masterpiece. Sidious throwing hands with Mon. We lost the honorable Savage in this.
Mm.
Very painful. Very
Oh,
painful.
and when he like like transcends back into his former body,
Yes.
and it's like this just really hasn't been like because in Savage's first episode, he's not a bad guy. Like
No.
the Night Sisters make him like a bad
Right.
person, and it's like, oh yeah,
And
it's
even
pretty heartbreaking.
when he like loses that shell, he's like, "I was never like you. I never like," or something. He was like,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I was never like you, I never was, and it just goes back into his like old form, and it's like, man, when I rewatched the Night Sister arc that you're talking about with Savage's introduction, this man was defending himself, his brother. Like he was like, one of his kin. He was like just defending him from vengeance. Like, as long as I live, you will not hurt him. And he ends up killing him. It's just like, dang. So
Yeah.
yeah, they made him into a bad guy. But yeah, this arc is like, it's crazy to me that it's number 3 on my list, just because years ago it just would have been number 1, and the Lawless was my favorite Clone Wars episode, most rewatched Clone Wars episode, I think, that, or one of the most, I should say. But yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And one last thing I want to say about the arc, and I mean, this is just more credit to just how they depict Mandalore in the whole series. I can't remember. This was probably Parks that pointed this out as well, or I think a
Probably.
lot of people have talked about it. But like, how Mandalore, the city, is like a city of glass, and it just shows like the fragile nature of those of Mandalorian, culture, pretty much, because they're so divided, and like it feels like it can all just break at any point.
Mhm.
So like just like this whole arc was a really good testament to how good that how good they had set up Mandalore and all the Darth Maul stuff, and it like really nicely came into one. Obviously, maybe later on in the series it became even better, but
Right.
I'm sure we'll talk about that soon. But
Oh,
yeah.
gotta say a quick thing. And we lost Ian Abercrombie, who voiced Palpatine.
Mm.
Remember, it came out in front of. It came out like a little title in front of the Lawless, and it was like, who's Ian Abercrombie? And I remember looking it up and be like, that's the voice actor for Palpatine. What? Like, what are they gonna do? And actually, cool fact, it took me like a whole bunch of, like, on my fourth rewatch of the series to settle this. If you watch Revival, at the end, that Ari was talking about, that scene with Palpatine at the end, dude, there's like weird audio that happens while Palpatine is talking. Ian's Palpatine. There's like a weird introduction that happens, and it's like, that did not sound like Ian. Like, what was going on? Like, someone messed up the freaking audio file or something. You can actually hear, I just had his name in my head, Tim Curry. You could hear Tim Curry's Palpatine, who voices Palpatine in season 6 of Clone Wars. You could hear, like, it sounded like they like added a line in there, and it was like Tim Curry's Palpatine. So for
Mm.
a moment, you can hear all in one sentence. You can hear uh, Ian Abercrombie's Palpatine, who played him for the Clone Wars movie in seasons 1, or not the Clone Wars movie. I think that was Ian McDermott. I don't know, but it was
Yeah.
seasons 1 through 5, and then you had Tim Curry's Palpatine that played him in season 6, except the Clovis arc. So cool fact. I like throwing cool facts out there, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's the
That's
cool
awesome.
fact.
All right, Mike, hit us with your number 2.
All right, number 2. This one is all right. So
So curious.
we couldn't have this one. I was just alluding to this one, but we couldn't have this one without the Mandalorian arc. But this is the Siege of Mandalore arc.
Oh,
This one,
no way
this
you put this at 2.
I you know what, dude? You know what? I'll praise the episode, the arc, before I do my little flaw takes on it. But this, it was worth the wait to watch this. This was magic. This was an experience, if you will say. Getting through the slow burn that was season 7, it was like, all right, like, let's get on with the show. Because I was just mad that they weren't doing like the Crystal Crisis arc or the Dark Disciple arc or Son of
Yeah.
Dathomir. I'm like, let's get on with the show.
Yeah.
Um, you get Friends Not Forgotten, and you just get this like reunion special with Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka, and it felt so weird to be here, just because Rebels felt like a dream at this point. It was like, wow, we really went through, you know, Clone Wars finishing, and then getting fragments of this tease Mandalore arc in at panels at Star Wars Celebration with Dave Filoni and Paulo Hidalgo, or fragments of it recounted in the Ahsoka book, in the Ahsoka novel, and then some things
Mhm.
alluded to in Star Wars Rebels. So it's just like, we really went through all that, and now we're here. Like, we just made a circle, and it felt so weird to be here. But like I said, it was so worth the wait. And Friends Not Forgotten, I'm like, this is the best Clone Wars episode, hands down. This was crazy. And just wait till you got till the Phantom Apprentice. Um,
Yeah.
dude, talk about like just literally literally cinema. Like this was I feel like this was the most well done Clone Wars episode ever. I will give it that. Like I think if we're talking more of like in a objective sense, I don't really like saying that, but if we're talking more like, oh, which has to be number one, I would give it to Phantom Apprentice. This one is, you have Maul versus Ahsoka, which is holy cow. Yet you're talking, how you were saying about the glass, bro.
Yeah.
When the glass shatters and they're just staring at each other, I'm like, oh my, this could go either way. Like Ahsoka could
Yeah.
join him. Like what's gonna go on? So you knew what was gonna happen at the end, but you also knew like you also just had this like sense of, yeah, it's probably not going to go the way, some people are thinking. Like, I feel like they have tricks up their sleeve. And you overall in that episode, you just have this looming sense of darkness, of Order 66 coming about. Yeah. And talk about taking the fight to, to the dueling, to taking it to new heights. Literally when they're fighting at the top of the dome, and then Maul like falls and she like catches him with the force, and he's like, no, let me go, let me die, you guys don't know what's coming, we're all gonna die. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I mean, we all know what's going on, but it's like, when did Clone Wars, like, I always knew Clone Wars was like great, but when did it get like this type of great? Like, holy moly, I'll say that stuff, holy cow, holy moly, because this is a new level of like holiness. So holy moly. uh so yeah,
A brand new level.
if Phantom Apprentice, great. The Order 66 one I liked, and it was emotional. But I just felt like they were hitting bullet points at that point, and same with the ending. Burying the Dead, that's another
Yeah,
Clone Wars
come on
scene that
now.
just affected
Oh,
me so much. The music, the scenery, and I remember just like literally crying at the end when the show ended with that one shot of the clone helmet and it just slowly panned away. And I just remember crying because I felt like this was a proper way to say goodbye to my childhood, because Clone Wars was my childhood, but with that abrupt ending that was you know that we yeah the ending that we never got, we finally got, and it was just like, wow, it really hit me heavy. But yeah, this arc is, if someone said this was on the number one list, Ari, I would be like, yeah, put it there, that's where it belongs. But this arc is everything, and I can't believe that the best Clone Wars episodes were made in 2020, like, or at least
yeah,
released in 2020. Like, that's crazy, because
yeah,
going back then, I'm like, no, the Lawless is art. It's a masterpiece. If you tell me, oh no, like the yet is best to come, or the best is yet to come, I totally switched that up. The best is yet
yeah,
to come. I love talking about this art. That's why I'm getting sweaty about it. But the
yeah,
best is yet to come, I would have been like, yeah, you're lying. No, no, it's not. The show has reached its peak. So yeah, Ari, Eddie, no, we'll save your thoughts
yeah,
on
yeah.
this.
I'll
What
definitely. Personally, I'm so interested to see what your number one is. It's probably something buried in my honorable mentions, but we'll see. It
buried
better
in
not
your
be like,
honorable? Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be something weird. I can just tell, or maybe not. Anyway, my number two, we've already talked about it, but the Fives arc, or yeah, the Order 66 conspiracy arc. Um, wow, yeah, where to even begin? Sort of what I was saying about the Ahsoka arc, where it's just like, this is just four really good episodes where it's like there's no down moments. It's just like this is a movie. And yeah, like I think probably my favorite episode would be, what's the final one called? Orders. Yeah, Orders was
Orders,
probably
yeah.
my favorite of the bunch. But honestly, Mike said it all really well at the start. But yeah, we've got AZ3. I think was a new character at that point as
Yeah.
well. So they were that was just cool to just see them. And then obviously they returned in Bad Batch, which was really cool.
Mhm.
Um, and still more AZ3 content coming. Bad Batch season 2. So let's go. Yeah, the Kaminoans were done really well. Palpatine, everything that was good. But come on now, the highlight of this all was Fives. This arc made Fives my favorite clone. He is my favorite clone by a long way. I love Rex too, but Fives all the way. Um, yeah, man, this guy is just something else. Like everything they do here is it's that same emotional feeling because and it's almost like in the Ahsoka arc where you're like, oh, Ahsoka clearly did not do this. We all know exactly what Fives is talking about and that he's right. And man, there's just so many little choices that you look at, like, oh, if he just did this differently, or if these people did that differently, like things could have gone so differently. But man, like this is just really good storytelling, honestly. And it's one of those moments where it's like, okay, yeah, they really like sort of came into themselves toward the end of the series in terms of the creators just really sort of like nailed the process of making and writing these episodes. I feel like not no disrespect to season 1, 2, 3, none of those early episodes. I
Love
love
them.
those seasons. However, it's so evident the improvement of the storytelling. So yeah, I think man, there's so many highlights. I'm just churning through them in my head right now. But
Yeah.
obviously, I think it all concludes. I wouldn't say perfectly, but in a way that I think was very expected. And oh man, it's like and it also did a really good job planting seeds for Siege of Mandalore. With the Rex stuff, but
Yeah.
that final scene with Fives, obviously extremely emotional. And something that just gets me every time is when Rex is holding him and Fives is talking about like the like what do you say, like the dreams, the mission, the nightmares,
Oh,
like it's finally over, and then he's like he like kind of fades away. um but like everything, and also shout out to D. Bradley Baker, honestly, the performance in that final scene, even when Fives is like he's yelling like, "You're not listening to me," or like, "You don't believe me."
yeah.
It's like you so feel that because like they don't, like Anakin and Rex, you just can't help but be like, guys, come on, we
Right.
like both of you, please just believe him. And it's like I feel like Rex, he just so desperately wanted to believe Fives, but I just think deep down he just didn't. But then even after he died, he's like, he was still so determined to be like, come on, like what? Surely there was something to what he was saying. And then Siege of Mandalore, it all comes full circle, and that's
Right.
what Fives saved Ahsoka, guys. Never forget that.
Right.
um,
Right.
but I'll just never forget. Honestly, orders like as in the episode that yeah, last 5 minutes, just beautiful storytelling. And who's the guy that shot him? It's Fox, right?
Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Screw
would say
you, Fox.
something Fox, but I don't want to get censored on
Yeah,
YouTube. Yeah,
yeah.
screw you is better, Fox. Yeah,
Yeah,
never
yeah.
liked the guy.
Um, yeah, no, he can get stuffed. But that's how I feel about the Fives arc. Definitely a highlight. But before you did your number two, right? Yeah, Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
I
did.
was I lose track of where we're at. Before we get cracking into our number ones, which man, I think everyone already knows what mine is, but I'm so curious what yours is, Mike. Let's do our honorable mentions. So let's start with you, Mike. Go for it.
So I got a whole bunch of honorable mentions here because again, I have that attachment to Clone Wars, and there's just so many episodes in here that I was like, oh, that could have been on here, that could have been on here. So I'm just gonna name them all. Ready? So
Okay.
from season 1, we got Layer of Grievous. Love
Mm.
that, love that one episode where we got to see Grievous go up against Fisto and Nadar Veb. Just a good
Yeah.
episode of like kind of exploration too of Grievous's character and stuff. Kind of
Mm.
gave Grievous the respect he deserves. Defenders of Peace arc with you got the Lurman up in there in season 1.
Hell
It just
yes. Hell yes.
I
Was thinking
love
about that arc when making this list. Yeah.
really, yeah, it just I love the connotations that the episode was expressing, and it was like, wow, like
Definitely.
as a kid I was like, okay, that was cool, we got to see Ayla Sakura and stuff, but as I grow older, and those two episodes are something that I revisit often, and I'm like, wow, you often have, when you're put in conflicts, you kind of often have to find yourself choosing a side for the better and whatnot, and talking about being a pacifist, and just stand, are you going to just stand there and get shut down? And yeah, I just love the message of early Clone Wars a lot. Then
Yeah.
we got the ARC Troopers arc in season 3.
Yeah.
We couldn't have the Fives arc without setting up the character
It's true.
Fives,
It's
his
true.
relationship with Shock T. We just couldn't
Yeah.
get that. So ARC Troopers and Clone Cadets.
Yeah.
That ending scene in Clone Cadets where the clone troopers graduate and they're just sent to their death
Yeah.
hits every single time. So
Yeah.
shout out to that. Umbara arc, I not talked
Yeah.
about that. Ari, I thought that was gonna be your number one, but Umbara arc,
No.
that's in talk about masterpiece in season 4. However,
Yeah.
that's another dark arc that every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, it just takes me back to like a bad memory that I had while watching that show. Just being during while I was having experienced, week to week the Pong Krell arc. I remember at school I was having a substitute teacher that was just like Pong Krell, and I was like, "Get out of my face!" Like Clone Wars was
Yeah.
coming to real life it's just coming real life at school, and I was just like, "Get out of my head, please!" But Umbar arc is top tier. Love that. And then we also got the Obi-Wan undercover arc. Man,
Yes. Shout out to
season
the box. What an episode.
dude, I
Yeah.
wish we could go like top 20 Clone Wars episodes because I got them
Yeah.
all. But seriously, so we could talk about them in depth. But the Obi-Wan undercover arc, masterpiece. The Youngling arc in season 5, I resonate with that a lot just because I love seeing Ahsoka move up to that mentor role and stuff. And yeah, it was cool just seeing her there. And we also got some cool like little kitty action that was like, oh shoot, like that's what the Younglings are doing. I always felt like
Yeah.
Clone Wars was trying to cover all aspects of the war,
Yeah.
and when we finally got to like the Younglings part of the story, I was like, wow, you guys delivered such a good story with also digging into the mythology
Yeah.
of Star Wars. Where now we're playing Fallen Order, and it's
Yeah. Yeah.
things.
Yeah. I was gonna say I love that episode that when they go get their kyber crystals. It's
Yeah,
very, very childish, but who cares? It's great. It's
it's
good
great.
storytelling.
It's
Yeah.
great. So,
Yeah.
and then also, yeah, the Ahsoka leaves arc on here, and y'all heard my spiel. I just
Yeah.
couldn't put in my top 5 because I wouldn't be truthful in that, just because I stay away from that arc,
Yeah.
emotional damage, right? But it's an honorable mention. So
Yeah.
those are my honorable mentions. Ari, what lines up with my honorable mentions and
Yeah.
what doesn't?
Yeah, we had a few similar ones on Bar. Definitely that arc is really good, but it's like I don't know. It's something that I feel like isn't quite as solid all the way through. I don't get me wrong. I'm just saying why it didn't quite squeeze into the top 5 because I know that arc will be in a lot of people's top 5s, but I feel like it's just not quite as solid all the way through. But really good episode. 5s is in that arc, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, that's him. Yeah, because he's a bit of a standout. I'm forgetting all the clone names, but so many great moments in there.
Jesse.
Yeah. And Ponkrell, obviously, great character.
Where would you say if like kind of loses its footing for a sec? 'Cause I might agree with you.
Honestly, I'd have to rewatch it and tell you, but I remember feeling that way when I was watching it.
Yeah,
I
we gotta
honestly
talk
haven't
about
watched
that.
it in like a year, but
Yeah.
yeah, Clone Cadets, as Mike said, we start with rookies, then we have ARC troopers, and what's the training episode called? Oh wait, rookies, Clone Cadets, yeah, ARC troopers. Those are the 3.
Yeah.
Those 3 are fantastic. Set up everything with 5s and just Domino Squad. So yeah, love that one. And even Echo. And then yeah, something I just wanted to shout out, Hunt for Zero. I love that episode because Quinlan Voss is top 5 Star Wars characters for me. And it's it's not a great episode, but it's the only time we get to see Quinlan Voss. And oh my God, I don't care that the book's out. I don't care that the Clone Wars is finished. Animate Dark Disciple, please.
Dude,
That's all.
I was, I knew that what I was writing down could be potentially be in my top 5.
Yeah.
I was like, Hunt for Zero is not one of them, but so I left it out, but I almost wrote it down. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Hunt for Zero, underrated episode.
Yeah, definitely. And then the episode that I so desperately want to put in my top 5, but it just fell short to Bounty is season 5, episode 13. I think it's called Missing in. No, it's not episode 13. Episode 10. It's in the D Squad arc. Missing in Action.
Oh, okay.
Mate, Gregor is a top 3 clone. Definitely, he'd be my 3rd behind Rex. Before Rebels, I just purely just from this episode, I just loved Gregor. Yeah, like there's not much to say besides like I would watch this episode over and over as a kid and just absolutely loved it. I was when I wrote it down from like when I was making this, I was like, oh yeah, this will definitely be in the top 5. But then I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to leave it out. So that was the one that I really, really wanted to put in, but just had to be squeezed out. But yeah, that's pretty much all. And yeah, Mike said a lot of other good honorable mentions. But yeah, let's do it, Mike. I've got to know, what is this number one? Because I thought it was going to be the Clone Cadets, but you've just said that. So
Yeah, yeah.
go on
So
then.
number one, this is an arc that every time I every time I watch, I go on like a spiritual journey with, and it's taught me a really valuable life lesson that not everything wraps up as you want it to, and that's the Yoda arc at the end of season 6.
Wow.
That is
Okay. Not
that
expect that.
you know what that arc there's a lot of heavy moments in there, dark moments that like, ooh, it could be kind of like grueling to get through, but it just impacts you also. Like Yoda seeing the future, getting future tidbits, or being like lied to by the dark side or force priestesses at various points. It's like, whoa, totally relatable sometimes, But
Yeah.
Ari, this one I count as the lost one, and it explores the Sifo Dyas. And again, this one also answers a lot of the tough questions. What the hell happened to Sifo Dyas? Y'all were making him a big stink in Attack of the Clones. We haven't gotten one mention of this dude in this Clone Wars series. So I felt like
Yeah.
they were finally paying homage to the guy who ordered these clones. Without this guy, we wouldn't even have the Clone Wars series. So I was like,
Yeah.
we gotta do an episode about him. So that was really cool. So a lot of filled in a lot of blanks for us, but also what's going on with Dooku and his alias Darth Tyrannus. Does Obi-Wan know? Does Anakin know? And so it was cool to see everything come full circle with that, and a lot of the Pike stuff too. Minister Lam, pay your respect. He was killed by Dooku in action. But
Yeah.
really, that episode, you go on a hunt, and I just felt like it was a prequel callback. You got to see Chancellor Valorum, and I was like, man, this is doing all the right things, and the whole arc does, a lot of the foretellings of the future. It says that there's another Skywalker out there, which we know is Luke and Leia. A lot of foretelling of what's to come, and Sidious and Dooku being like, wow, we have a chance to do a devastating blow to the Jedi, and then realizing, we can't knock Yoda down. We're going to need more time before we could defeat him and the Jedi. So they kind of give you like a timeline update. Oh, shoot, there's not a lot of time left, but there's still time. So I felt like two more, we would have gone still with season 6 being as packed as it was, Dark Disciple, Son of Dathomir. We still would have gone another couple seasons before we got Siege of Mandalore. But
Yeah.
yeah, this arc, then you get the next episode, and you have Yoda start levitating the air, and it's Qui-Gon Jinn. Dude, another thing that they go really deep into the Force Ghost stuff, and
Yeah.
this is just the writing in this arc is done so well, where your understanding of the Force, which we all want to know, right? It's like, what's up with the Force? How does it work? And you just try to, like, they do it in a graceful way where it's like, we're not going to give you all the answers, especially what happens to a Jedi after they die and stuff. Or, they answer very vaguely, they become part of the cosmic force. But learning more about, like, how Qui-Gon's journey and stuff, and, Yoda being selected next to pass on that lesson. So, yeah, that was a really, really groundbreaking stuff for Clone Wars. And the music was great. And that opening shot of the first, not the Lost Ones, but the second episode after that, dude, how you were talking about the environment on Coruscant. Literally, when I'm
Yeah.
like, how do I talk about this episode? And then I wanted to talk about the fact that in every, like, underappreciated Clone Wars little aspect here, bro, every time there's something going on, like the mood is just reflected on Coruscant with the Jedi Temple. Here we actually get like a really fogged up Jedi Temple, where it's like, oh, we haven't seen a shot like that before. And
Yeah.
you realize that it's like, dude, the Jedi are like, their vision is clouded right now, and it's just,
Yeah.
they're like surrounded by all this fog. And how you were
Yeah.
saying with the Maw stuff, and then they come back to the temple, it's all stormy. And so when I was thinking about this episode, I was like, dude, this whole arc, their like vision is clouded by dark side or by their own doing. And it's like, wow, how do we show the environment? Let's just cloud the entire Jedi temple up with with fog. So really masterful stuff here from the Clone Wars crew. But yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, Yoda arc, I remember reaching like the end point in my binge watch of the Clone Wars when season 6 came out, and being like, wow, I'm about to watch the last episode. Or I had, what would you call them, like a nerdgasm when Ahsoka popped up in when the second to last episode
Did
when
not just say
I did
that.
say that. When Ahsoka
Nah, I love
Tano
it.
popped
Love
up,
it.
I was like,
Yeah.
her only appearance in the season and her only mention, but I was so
Yeah.
grateful for him. Like Ahsoka, Ahsoka, and you got to see Dooku up in there too. I just felt like it was everything was like a spiritual finale arc to the Clone Wars. Like you got to see like this shot of all the former Jedi who have passed, Adigalia,
Yeah.
that one Jedi sister. You just got to see all the Jedi that we lost along the way. Um, if we saw no, we didn't see even Peel who died at the Citadel, but it would have been nice to see him. I remember him in
Yeah.
that shot. But we
Also,
saw
I just gotta say, shout out to the Citadel. Someone's gonna get so angry at us that we didn't mention that. It's a great arc.
it
Yes.
is it's yeah, I like the arc. It's cool.
It's cool.
But yeah, then we get to the episode Sacrifice, Yoda going to the Sith world of, talk about people getting mad when this wasn't called Korriban and instead was rebranded to Morabon by George Lucas. People were upset, but
Yeah.
it was cool getting to the Sith world and being like, oh, we finally get to explore some Sith stuff in Clone Wars, which was really cool. And like I said, Yoda learns stuff. You see Darth Bane up in there, which was cool. Which to me, I don't know anything about Legends still, but I was like, oh, isn't that the guy that everyone talks about, Darth Bane? And then just the ending sequence where Yoda goes like, oh, like let's go home, R2, and then they go back to the temple, and right away Mace Windu and Obi-Wan are like breathing down Yoda's neck, like, so what do you learn? Like, how do we end this war? And
Yeah.
Yoda knows a lot of answers, and it's like, all I can tell you is that this war is coming to an end, and I feel like the darkness already won, and we have to secure our foot for the next for our next journey, and we have to do some things. So, and it was. I realized that it was the last shot that we were going to see for Clone Wars. You know, at the time it was like, we're done, we're moving on with Rebels.
Yeah.
We're moving on, and I remember just being like taking the moment up, and you just hear Yoda's theme in the background, and he says some cool line of like, we may not find victory in the Clone Wars, but victory for all time. And I just, yeah, it was, wow. It just took me, it just,
Beautiful final shot to
of
finish
the,
the series. Yeah.
it
Or
was a
well, what we
beautiful,
thought at least. Yeah.
and it was like a closing on my childhood, and it was abrupt, but it was like, all right, we're done here. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, and so when we got, that awesome actual finale to Clone Wars with Siege of Mandalore, that's when I was like, I finally got that closure that I needed, just because that was a finale and it still affected me, but I was just not the finale that I was looking for. So Yoda arc is my number one. Ari,
Yeah.
what
Before
is
I
your
get
number
into it,
one? Yeah, yeah.
just want to say that's a great pick and not what I would have expected, but very, very solid arc. The final episode, Sacrifice. Yeah, that's a banger
Sacrifice.
Clone Wars episode for sure.
Thank you.
But yeah, my number one, I think we all already know. Gone with a Trace. No. Is that even the name of the episode? What is
Yes.
it? I think it's Gone with
Oh,
the Trace. So this episode, no.
no, I can't
Can't
believe
even.
you just
Can't
said
even.
that.
I did that last week as well. I was like,
Yeah,
I
you
gotta find
did.
one. Yeah. No. Okay. So yeah, Siege of Mandalore. I mean, this is just the Clone Wars right here, is it not? Like this is the Clone Wars movie 2, and the sequel is much better than the original. But no, like, oh my god, like I there's no way what I say about this arc will bring justice to how amazing and incredible it is, because the way I feel is just like, it's kind of like last week. I remember when we got to Spark of the Rebellion, I was like, I just don't even know what to say. This just makes me feel so much stuff, and it's the perfect like culmination of Clone Wars. I feel like, Mike said it well before. Old friends not forgotten. Reunion, perfect. The Phantom Apprentice, some of the best action we've got. That scene, where the glass shatters and Ahsoka and Maul staring at each other, incredible. Shattered. Yeah, I kind of agree. Probably the weaker episode, but even still fantastic. Oh my god! And when the tear goes down Rex's face, and he's holding the guns out, and he's like fives, find him, fives, and then like that, the music just hits into gear. That's that's incredible. And I just love it. It almost went back to the Clone Wars roots as well, with Ahsoka just like, getting the droids to help her, and like
Yeah.
just classic Ahsoka, like with the empathy. I love it. Um but just, I mean, there's just so many highlights. We all know, we've all watched this arc, over and over again. It's not even an arc. This is just a movie. I never
It
think,
is.
oh, this episode and this episode. I just think Siege of Mandalore,
The movie.
or like the Clone Wars ending. That's what I think. Like I usually wouldn't just go and watch one of these episodes. I got to watch the whole thing in
Right.
one sitting, and man, I'm so tempted to just watch this tonight after this Clone Wars conversation.
No, we're
but
playing Battlefront tonight. We're playing Battlefront tonight.
But yeah, and then Victory and Death, like definitely a very small scale episode for what you'd expect the Clone Wars, the culmination, to be this big, war type thing. But I thought it was perfect, honestly, and just so much symbolism in this episode. So many great metaphors and just everything. And Mike said it earlier, but victory and wait, what's the theme at the end? Burying the dead.
Burying the dead, yeah.
Just man, Kevin Kiner. Someone give this man an award for, I don't even know what, but just someone do it. He crushed Rebels, and he absolutely crushed Clone Wars as well. This was man, this just, it's that thing. You just want to feel those emotions, and that the arc capped off perfectly. And
Right.
Even I think probably the best moment of the arc to me was when the music from Revenge of the Sith is playing. We're going down to the surface of Mandalore. I think this is in episode 9, or is it 10? I think it's 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going down to the surface, and then there's just that incredible shot of Ahsoka with her lightsabers and all the fire behind her.
Yep.
And then the
I have
theme
that
kicks
poster.
into gear.
I
Yeah,
have that poster. Thank you to Celebration for giving
for
those
real.
out.
I'm jealous. I want one. Like, man. So yeah, I as I say, me talking about it just can't do justice to the greatness that is. And I think, I mean, last week I had like a really like cool, different, unique number one, but I think this week is like, I think most people would share this one. If you don't, though, that's cool. Let us know your top 5. That pretty much wraps up the conversation. But yeah, before we do wrap up, make sure you're following us on Instagram at the SW Exchange. Comment your top 5 Clone Wars episodes. We've had loads of fun talking about them all here. And let us know. We really want to know. Do you guys like these podcasts? We got some really good feedback last time. Let us know again. And tell us, do you have an idea for a podcast? Because sometimes, there's just no news. This week, there really just wasn't much to talk about. So we thought we were getting that Kenobi trailer. Didn't come. Anyway, that's a talk for another time.
Right.
But yeah, so say I would like to see a top 5 of this. I can't remember the name, but someone commented one last week, and I was like, that's a really good idea, and I wrote it down, and we'll probably do it at some stage. So let us know if you have an idea for us for something to do, because as I say, some weeks there's nothing to do but go back and talk about other stuff, and we love doing that just as much as we love talking about all the latest Star Wars news. So
Right.
Once again, this has been so much fun to record. Now I'm just in the ultimate Clone Wars mode. Same as last week, I'm in that Rebels mode. So Mike, I think that just about wraps us up.
Yeah, that wraps us up. As Ari said, though, give us your lists. Drop them down in the YouTube comments if you're following us there. As Ari said, follow our Instagram page too, the SW Exchange, because we have cool things coming out. You might see some things from this episode up on there, and follow us on our pages. Ari at the Star Wars, or at Star Wars _exchange on Instagram, and me on Twitter also, and then me all _ Star Wars on Instagram and Twitter. And we actually we do a lot, me and Ari, come on, we're best friends. we do collab posts together. So if you're following one, you got to follow the other. So please follow my home dog, Ari, at Star Wars _exchange. And follow me too if you want.
Yeah.
But we actually posted
get
around it. And we also posted our Star Wars Rebels top 5 in like a post form. So we'll do the same for Clone Wars, but we'll wait a couple of days so we don't spoil.
Give it a couple of days so people can listen in. And
but for reals, subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces, and if not, if you want to hide away from them, subscribe to the Apple Podcast. You know where to find us also. And Spotify.
And drop those ratings. It goes a long way. If you think this is a 5-star show, please let the the podcast platforms know. It goes a long
Yeah.
way for us. So we
But
really
we
appreciate
we
it.
do pop up pretty presentable on those feeds. So I mean
Yeah.
on those charts. So thank you for even listening to us. We really
Yeah.
appreciate
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But yeah,
Definitely.
as Ari said though, we have a lot of fun doing these. So if you ever have topic suggestions, again, hit us up. We don't hit us up on email. That's boring. That's the thing of the past. You know what's present is Instagram, and you can hit us up at the SW Exchange. DM us. We love
Yeah.
chatting
Yeah.
with y'all. Send us a DM with a topic suggestion.
Yeah.
If you've had a burning Star Wars question that you've wanted answered all your life, you know where to hit us. If you just
Yeah.
want us to talk about something, if you want us like in this moment of Ventress actually says this and whatnot, and her connection to Dark Disciple, like I thought you could address that. Like sure, send it over.
Yeah.
So DM us.
Yeah. We'd love
Be
to
sure
hear
to
it.
do that. Talk to
Yeah.
us. All right, everyone. I'm gonna go play Battlefront with Ari. We're definitely gonna play some Clone Wars
Yeah. We're keen.
Supremacy. So until next time, may the Force be with you. Adios.
See ya.